Hello guys, how y'all doing? Miss here. Welcome to today's video. Yes, please welcome to my YouTube channel. I haven't been making a video in a month, and whenever I feel like making a video, I mostly think that it's gonna be a very short one, which never does. Like, I never make the short videos for whatever reasons, and tonight is no different. And after making a video 2 months ago, in which I make a review about a Japanese literature that I read in a duration of 6 days, I've been searching for another book by the same author for the past 2 months, and it happens to be the most, I guess, difficult search of my life, because not only that the book that I was searching for was out of stock, but I also couldn't find it in any physical bookstore that I went. And it was like, I guess, kind of like a pursuit of mine for a while, and kind of like reason why I shifted to games, more specifically Otome games, in which I make another video talking about that. Now, the reasons why I decided to make a video for today is because I've been looking at my bookshelf behind here, which you guys could not see because there's not like a lot of books there. Like, the top shelf was books mainly, and then the second shelf was mostly comic books, which I don't know if I ever gonna talk about on my channel about comic book, because I feel like I'm older enough to do that. Like, I have lived a life buying comics books and enjoying it, whatever, and now I just feel like, I don't know, I just feel like I'm ready to move on to other things. But maybe I'll think about it, I don't know. But yeah, so anyway, I was looking at my bookshelf. I'm kind of like wondering to myself, like, it was a video basically, like I want to talk about, basically, I was in that video I was saying that I want to talk about my top 10 books that I love, but I never did the rest of 9 other books, because I don't know, maybe I forget or something happened. I don't know what happened, but I never finished that video precisely. It was just like basically talking about like one book, and then I look back at that video. It was a video I shot about 6-7 years ago, and when I look back, I thought, do I still love this book? Like, my most unforgettable book. And I looked at my bookshelf and I noticed that book. It is a book called The Collector by John Pauls, and I looked back and I thought, do I still love this book? As I claimed 7 years ago, yeah, I still do. And I guess tonight I'm just gonna add on to 4 more books that I actually enjoy in the past couple of years. Some are new, mostly old, and I just want to tell you guys the story that I have behind collecting all of them and putting them on my bookshelf, because I do not put unimportant books or books that doesn't have any meaning on my bookshelf, because I only have like a very limited spaces. So whatever that's in there needs to be a book that have like certain value in my life, like I read it, love it, or something that speaks to me. So these 5 books I'm gonna show you guys are basically that, a book that hold meanings in my life the past, I guess, 15 years or so, and by all means, it's probably not for everybody. Like, some of the contents in it could be disturbing, maybe not, but hopefully you'll hear my story for tonight. Like, this is my top 5 books of all time. So I'm gonna start with number 1, the classic. Like, I even make a book review about this before. Like, this book is basically the first one that I review on my channel, and I was young then. But this book was super moving to me. And fun fact, when I first read this book, I did not read it in a physical form. I read it in an ebook because I could not afford the physical ones. But then, in my country, we have this thing called Big Bad Wolf sales. I think they basically imported some of that, books from the outside here, and then they sold it at a very cheap price. You can see here they even market, which means that, you know, they want to like either sell it cheap or maybe dispose it. So it is because of that big bet with sales that I managed to acquire a copy of this book. And I think I got it very cheap too. Like it's like 12 ringgits or something, which if you convert it, maybe $4 or something like that. So when I first got this, I was like amazed because it was still under a very good condition, and everything about it was just like, it's basically, when I look at it, it was just like a dream come true. Like for some people, oh, we might want to dispose this, nobody's buying this, whatever, but to me it was like treasure. You know what I say, you know, not a man's trash is not a man's treasures. And it's the same thing with me with this book, despite being marked here. I treasure this. I really enjoy it when I first read it, and I know the content is a bit dark. It started like almost a love story to me, you know, like a girl being, you know, held against her will of this like admirer of her who's willing to do everything in his power to basically keep her there. And then was very meticulous too about things that she wear, things that she thought, the things that he thought that she might like, and then bringing it all in the freaking basement where he kept her most of the day, you know, times. But eventually I realized that it was just a one-sided thing, because neither of them ever wanted to understand each other's plight. Like it was like basically, I like you because I thought you are the embodiment of this thing, and then she was like, no, I don't like you because you kidnapped me and I just want to get the F out of here, you know. And it was just the whole thing where neither of them are getting what they wanted, and it just ended up in tragedy. Like for those who didn't read this book yet, it ended up in tragedy, and it's even like, I guess, inspire a couple like real life crimes, which I'm not gonna mention because it's I feel like it's unrelated to this book, but still, it just, like, some people like taking this book like seriously in a very deranged way, like committing crimes and all that, and think it was all like, yeah, because the book inspired me, whatever. But to me, it was all about a love that never be, and it's kind of like bittersweet to me. Like I feel like I understand what the author was trying to tell me, even from the first get-go. Like he was like painting a picture about their first meeting. He noticed her, she doesn't notice him, but he keeps on, you know, taps on her, and it was just painting all this like obsession he have towards her, like Miranda, the you know, protagonist in this story. And I don't know, there's something about that was like amazing to me. Whenever an author can hold my attention for that long, I was like amazed already, and I just keep on reading until I finish everything. And I must say I'm a little bit upset remembering the ending. I was like, a few rating to me, like I was still mad when I think about it once in a while. Like, you know, she never escaped, she just died there, and then he just tried to find another person to replace her. Preferably this one will be docile so that he doesn't have to do much. And I was like, it amazed me that he changes his opinion about this woman that he's so-called admiring for so long. And for those who haven't picked up this book, I highly recommend it. And please do not, like, you know, go seeking for the copycat crimes that comes with the book, because I don't think that's ever the intention of the writers to like write it in the first place. I think he was like, you know, inspired by something that he read before and think it will make a good story, and indeed it was. Because I almost bought it for a second. I thought they're gonna end it up together, like she's gonna change her mind, but no, she just ended up dying. But still, one of my favorite books, and I can just proudly claim that I can read this book at any given time. Like if I'm sad, if I'm happy, I can just read it and just be absorbed in and immersed in the story, and then left with the bittersweet feelings at the end of it, and appreciate it. Like I still have time to get to read the whole story, because it's freaking good. So this is the first one. Sorry it took me so long to even like explain it. So anyway, the next book that I'm going to introduce to you that I feel like changed my life was this book, Fight Club. Yes, I know some of you guys have seen the movie with Brad Pitt and Ed Norton, and we've seen the biceps, we've seen the fighting, we've seen all that. But you ask me, what did I learn from that movie? I learned that it's mainly, like, I guess, a commentary about consumerism. I remember watching that movie when I was like 21, and I thought to myself, damn, this movie did so well in portraying all of those things. And this movie was, you know, released in 1999, so it's already ahead of its time. And I was like, this is amazing. I don't care about the biceps and all, I don't care about any of that, but I do fall in love with Edward Norton thanks to that movie, and begin searching his movie like crazy, which will explain to you guys why I like this next books that I have under this pile, this small pile of mine. But more on that later. First, this one. So what do I love about Fight Club? And I know there's a rules, you know, the first rule is that you do not talk about Fight Club, but I want to talk about it here because I thought among all the light reading that you can do, you should be reading this, because everything was just, I mean, even the wording itself was so simple. Like when I understand it, and I like the fact that it doesn't say too much. It's just say enough, you know. And I ended up wanting nothing more. I just want to keep on reading until I reach to the end, which of course, obviously, the conclusion was like he actually have a split personality, and he thought that he was like watching someone else doing it, like, you know, or doing all this fighting, when all in all it was always him all along. And I was like very shocked when I learned that in the movie and also in this book. I think the way it goes is that I watched the movie first, and then I was super impressed by the movie. I decided to find the book, and it also surprises me even more that nearly all the dialogues that you saw in the movie, they have it on this book. Some of them are like words per word, but I gotta say something about the ending, which to me, I don't know if anyone else feels the same way, but to me, I feel like the movie does it better. And I think even the author, Chuck Palahniuk, thinks so too, because in this book, the narrator, he was put under like mental institution because people thought he's crazy, so they put him there. But there's still like a very, very loyal, you know, members who are still waiting, like members from Project Mayhem that are still waiting for him to, you know, for Tyler Durden to resurface, you know. And I thought that was pretty, I don't know, like after seeing the ending in the movie and then comparing that with the ending of this book, I was like, I think the movie did it better. Like, anyway, so after Fight Club, I begins to search on others Ed Norton movies. Actually, not after Fight Club. I think I started searching for Edward Norton filmography, starting from Primal Fear, because I was super amazed at his performance in that particular films. And I also learned that they have like they based that film based on a book called Primal Fear. But I read Primal Fear a couple of years ago, and I was like, don't know why I never could finish it, so I didn't include it on this list. But still, you know, it led me to the discovery of Fight Club movie and then Fight Club book, which I already shown you guys. And now when I go down like more on Edward Norton filmography, I discovered that he also did this like one movie called The Painted Veil. And the Painted Veil of the Painted Veil, I think veil, right? The Painted Veil. And the thing about this book is that it totally changes my whole perspective about romance book in general, because this book is not really about romance. It's about redemption, and also forgiveness and redemption. And I like the fact that the movie make it like they have like some sort of like some sort of like, what do you call it, a closing chapter, whereas in this book it was never stated. Either Walter Fane, which is the husband who's been cheated on, ever forgives his wife Kitty Fane for cheating on him. And I kind of like that the source material was different from the movie, but of course they gotta give it like a little bit like Hollywood magic or whatnot. And I also like the ending in the movie because it was different, because in the book, Kitty, after Walter Fane's death, she went back to live with her father, and I think she had an affair with the former lover, Charles Townsend. And I thought that was pretty stupid because, you know, like, why go back to the person who hurt you the most? I don't care if it's like probably his child or whatever, but to me it was like, why go back, you know? Then again, this book was, you know, the setting was in 1929 or something like that, and I get it. During those times, women don't really have any say, and most of their incomes come from the spouses or husband or father, for that matter, which is why Kitty Fane go back to her father, because she got no way to make money on her own. But I think it kind of like ends on a cherry note, which she accompanied her father to Africa or something. And I thought it was kind of nice because, you know, she always have a good relationship with her father. But even she cannot escape of being dependent towards the male figure in her life, which what was this book was all about. But I like it. I like this book because how raw it is, you know, in depicting those kind of like struggles that women have to face way back when, and they have no ways to make their own means, like, you know, they have no way to make money or to support themselves, to protect themselves. What I like even better is that the writer writes this book in a way that it was super vivid, you know, because when I read it, I feel like I'm almost in the room watching these events unfolding, especially during those like very angry dialogue between Kitty and Walter Fane, like especially after he discovered her affair, when she, you know, she's stating her reasons why she's cheated on him, and then he stated his reason why he marries her and stuff like that, and it feels so freaking vivid to me. Like, this is a couple who like struggling because of the infidelity thing and trying to get through with it, like, you know, trying to get divorced, not getting divorced, but it was more like a, like the way them of doing things, like, you know, like for instance, I feel like Walter can just easily, you know, divorce Kitty if he no longer loves her, but instead he was punishing her by not divorcing her, but instead taking her to Mei Tang Hu, a place that was infested with cholera, just so that, I think it was more or less almost like, you know, he could not murder he could not murder her. It feels like he could not murder her with his own hand. Now he's gonna leave it to fate to kill her. And then there's even like a poem in this novel that I was like, it like makes me ponder like a lot of time. Like I was like, what is that all about, you know, about a dog that died. And upon further, like, you know, researching like down the rabbit hole, I realized that that poem was supposed to meant like to Walter. He thought that the dog, which I guess he thought that Kitty is gonna die by the end of this like trip to this cholera infested village, but instead it was him who died. It was him who suffered great loss, which is his own life. He was like trying to punish Kitty, but Kitty survived with a child even, like, you know, she survived the whole thing, and then she went back to her father and whatnot, and it was Walter who died. And I was like, I don't know if that's like poetic or what, but to me it felt like sometimes, it's easier to just let go. Like instead of like holding like a grudge towards somebody who have wronged you, it's probably like, I mean, this is like lesson I got it afterwards when I tried to find like what's the value of this story, like why am I reading it, why do I love it so much. I think at the end of the story it feels like the story is like telling me to just let go of the past grudges you have, because sometimes it's just gonna end up um, hurting you more than the other person. And I even heard it somewhere that hate is like ingesting a poison and then hoping for the other person to die. And I guess just kind of reflects what's happening in this novel. And the fact I love it so much is because of the redemption part, because Kitty knows where she did wrong, and she also knows the source of her problem, like it's very patriarchy thing, and then she always like trying to impress, trying to do what she thought was right, but ended up becoming meaningless to her, like all the parties and all the cool guys, cool things, it just ended up becoming nothing to her. And she eventually like matured on her own in this novel. I just felt like when I read this book, it just changed my whole opinion and view about romance novels and how it should be written. Like sometimes I do enjoy those like fluffy stuff, like it's just a man loves a girl and then guts the girl and then they live happily ever after, but sometimes some of them don't, which is clearly evident in this novel, because Walter Fane, I believe, at some point loved Kitty, but Kitty doesn't feel the same way and just got married him to get away from her mother. And the pair was just ill-fated, I feel like, because neither of them really understand each other really that well, and it was just a very unfortunate pairing in my opinion. But I still love this book, and I'm so glad that I finally got a physical copy of it, because initially when I first read it, I read it in an ebook form, and I know that I love it so much, but I could not find the physical book anywhere, and even if I wanted to order them, it will take me about a month or so. So I never did until I think 10 years has passed, and I finally found like an original copy of this, and I have to do the waiting again. I think it was about like 14 days. So it's like maybe 10 years and 14 days later I finally got this book on my possession, and I'll never let it go. I'll read it whenever I feel like I wanted something sad and bittersweet. And yeah, I guess I'll never give this copy away to the library, because that's what I do with most of my books that I grown tired of. I donated them all to public library, just so other people can read them too. But this is like the copy that I think I could never ever let go, because how much it meant to me. So there you go. And then next, this is also a copy of a book that took me 10 years before I finally bought the physical copy, because mainly of the reasons that it's not easily available at my place. Like I could never find it before, but now because of the online store, you can just like buy anything there. And it is a book by Banana Yoshimoto called Kitchen. I read it on my on my early 20s, and I was still amazed because I just reread this a couple of weeks ago, and I am still amazed on how much the story still hold out to me. Like it's still, I mean, it was written back in 1989, but it feels fresh even to this day when I read this, because of the storyline and everything else. And I think they have like about 2 stories in here, Kitchen and Moonlight Shadow. And of course I loved Kitchen, obviously, because it was a story about a girl who's trying to find her way in life, and then met a couple like characters that makes her feel comfortable. And that's what this book are to me. It makes me feel comfortable while reading it. Like I feel comforted in some ways when I'm reading this book. And even towards the end, I'm not sad like some of the characters died or whatever. I just felt happy that I got to read it, and happy to think that maybe, just maybe, like these two characters that met at very strange times, or in a very strange place in their life. Like one of them, parents just died and everything. Like they finally found each other and be comforted the presence of one another. And I just like to think that they ended up being together at the end, even though it was never stated that they did get together in the end. But I just like to think that they did, you know. And yeah, I'll go back to this book every now and then just to feel comforted, which cannot say the same with this one. Like this is not a comfort book, but you know, I love it still. Anyway, so we're done with the last book of tonight. This is of course the book that I made a review of. Every time I see the cover of this book, or even the bind, you know, I was reading on the spine, I was like, yes, that book, oh my god, it was such a roller coaster ride that I don't think I'll ever forget anytime soon. But if you want to see like the full length like review, you can just click on one of my videos. But to sum it all up, it is a book of a puzzle to me. It's like putting them all together like a jigsaw puzzle. And I'm almost like very excited to read this one too, because it's from the same author and it took me 2 months to find it. Hopefully it's worth it, you know. But this one, it was like such a roller coaster ride. Really good mystery book. It made me care about most of the characters, because I know that they all have some meaning or whatnot. Like, you know, the writer wouldn't just like tell me about this character, tell me about that character if they have no meaning. And I love it, you know, because you have to put them all together at the end, and you know, by the end of it. So when I read this and I finished it, I feel like a sense of accomplishment. Just so weird, because I'm not the one who write this, but still I feel like once I put them all together, it feels like, yeah, the picture is there, it's perfect now. I get it, thank you for writing this. Thank you for the universe for telling me to just pick up this book. You're not gonna regret it. Because really it was really fun the way it happens, like how I discovered it, how I found it, when I started reading it, and when I finished it. Everything was just super memorable to me, that it was like a whole experience. It feels like it's like going to a movie and then coming out feeling happy and refreshed, but it is in a book form. It's kind of weird, but you know, it is how I felt at the time. And I don't regret it spending like a retail price for this one. Like, this is also another retail price book that I got, but I don't regret. I have another set of book that I didn't show you guys, but I was hoping that I could finish them all soon. It is the Hannibal series by Thomas Harris. And the reasons why I picked this up is because in my younger days, I was a big fan of Hannibal TV series, the one with Matt Mickelson and Hugh Dancy. I was a big fan. I even joined the fandom at Tumblr at some point, and we, you know, I enjoy them posting things here and there, and I become more familiar with the material thanks to that TV series. And also I learned that Ed Norton acted in one of this, I think it was the Red Dragon, I think. Yeah, Red Dragon. One of these, Red Dragon, back in 2002, which, like I said, I'm kind of like huge Ed Norton fans, as obvious at this point. I guess, can I just, you know, plainly say that, you know, most of my book collection started because of Ed Norton films. Can I just say that? Because I think it's pretty obvious now. But anyway, so So far I have read some of Red Dragon, some of Silence of the Lambs. But the one I'm excited to read, it was actually Hannibal, because it was like basically, I guess, the conclusion. And some people are like kind of like disappointed with Hannibal Rising. Maybe rightfully so, because you know it's kind of like trying to unmask Hannibal in a way, like his childhood and what made him turn into cannibal and kill and people and stuff like that. And sometimes that's kind of like destroy the magic a little bit, because a psychopath need a reasons. Some people might be thinking that, but to me, I was most excited about this one because this is the book that was, I think, adapted into a movie, but Jodie Foster doesn't want to do it, I think, because of the source material that she thought was kind of like demeaning towards Clarice Starling. But to me, I don't know. I feel like I read this much, and I just want to see how it turned out. Like, you know, because I thought, what happened to Clarice Starling in this book, which I learned that she's become sort of like a failure in the force because she was killing at people, like, you know, she's killing a woman and a child, and that's never good. So they are thinking about, you know, kicking her out from the forest, which kind of like sent her into the arms of Hannibal Lecter again, because he was released back in the Silence of the Lambs, and then of course they become something by the end of the book, which I don't know how that turned out. Like, I haven't read throughout all of them, but I'm kind of excited to see that happening. Because the thing is, I feel like the way Thomas Harris writes his book was, again, compelling. It's almost like you're in the force with Clarice. Like, I don't know most of the, you know, law enforcement jargon, but when I read this book, I started to learn it. And I love how simple it is. Like, some of the words that he uses, nothing too bombastic, because again, like I said, English is not my first language, so as simple as it can be so that it would convey the message. But yeah, I have this series now thanks to, again, Big Bad Wolf in my freaking country. Like, I gotta thank this like store for existing. But unfortunately, I could not find time yet to read all of this. Hope soon, probably soon. So anyway, guys, that's all for tonight's video. It's already this long. I hope you guys have fun watching it, and yeah, I hope I'll be making that book review soon once I finish all of this book. So with that being said, done. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you guys soon on the next one.